Hey guys, Otto here from Acquisition Partner. Now in today's video guys, what I'm going to show you is a very unique implementation that you can use to 3 to 5x your agency revenue without actually having to acquire new clients. So stick around to the end. I'm going to show you the absolute step-by-step methodology towards the end of the video. But first things first, what I'm going to do is just introduce this formula here. Okay, it's a formula that we call the RUC formula. It's based on the retrospective upsell and cross-sell strategy that we've implemented with our clients in the ecom email agency. And the way that we do this is by focusing on two elements of basically increasing revenue. Okay, and the two elements here are cross-selling and upselling. Now you might be thinking, I know what a cross-sell is, I know what an upsell is, but what we're not talking about here is actually pitching an offer to a new client and trying to cross-sell them and trying to upsell them on top of your existing core offer. Okay, what we use is a process we kind of call the retrospective time machine, where we actually funnel our various cross-sells and upsells into this time machine retrospectively in order to basically 3 to 5x our revenue from the existing clients that we have. Now, if you don't know what a cross-sell is or an upsell is, there's obviously a lot of information about what those are online. Typically, a cross-sell is a additional service that's going to be complementary to your core offer that you want to put forth and try and close a client on in order to increase your lifetime value of that specific client. Okay, so why would you try and just get X amount of money or a retainer from them per month for your core offer when you've got 3 to 4 other complementary offers that you want to layer in and add in there to increase your revenue that's actually going to value the client. Okay, those are examples of cross-sells. Now, upsells are a very similar thing. You're going to be trying to pitch them something, again, that's complementary, but typically it's going to be a premium product or service. Okay, so it might be that you've got them on a, I don't know, it's not something we advocate, but a 30-day trial or whatever it might be. You're going to eventually try and do a good job and then upsell that client onto a premium paid service. Okay, so what we do here is we utilize our cross-sells and upsells, which I'll go through in just a second here. We funnel them through a retrospective process. So we're not introducing those at the start when we are trying to actually acquire and close a client. We introduce those retrospectively once the clients are already closed and once they are onboarded. And I'm going to show you exactly at what point in the client sort of timeline that we actually do that and how we specifically do that. Okay. So we talked a bit about the cross-sells and upsells being complementary and more expensive. And the reason these are important and why, if you're not already using those in your agency, 3 reasons here why it's very important to introduce them. Okay, so the first things first, it's going to increase your revenue per client. Okay, so why would you charge $2,000 a month when you've got 3 to 4 other complementary services that are quite easy for you to throw in and add value to the client that will actually increase your revenue from that client an extra $500, $1,000, $3,000, whatever it might be. Okay, and what that in turn is going to do, if you have agency clients on a retainer model, you're working with them from a 6, 12, 24-month basis, whatever it might be, you're going to increase your monthly recurring revenue from those clients, which in turn is going to increase your financial stability, your ability to actually project your costings, your revenues, and set goals really into the sort of medium to long term, as opposed to working, hand to mouth, boom and bust in the short term all the time. And the final point here that we've already picked up on, it's going to decrease your cost of acquisition. Okay, so it does this indirectly. There's obviously a cost of acquiring new clients, whether you're running ads to do so or you're sending cold emails. That you can get pretty granular with where the costs lie and how specific you're going to be in attributing a cost to the acquisition of a new client. It might be $1 if you're lucky, it might be $100, whatever it might be, there will be a cost. Okay, and doing what we're going to talk through now is a way that you can decrease your CACs whilst increasing your monthly recurring revenue. All right, and the way that we do this, like I say, is not by doing it at the start of closing a new client. We introduce this retrospectively on a specific timeline at a specific point of time. And the reason we do this retrospectively is because at this point, you would have already been working with the client. Okay, so at this stage, you've closed the client, you've pitched, you've closed them, you've onboarded them, you will be delivering your service already and hopefully in a position where you've actually generated results for them and therein by you've actually built some trust. Okay, so you've got some equity in the relationship there. And the reason that introducing your cross-sells and upsells retrospectively as opposed to at the beginning of a new relationship with a client is that you're going to quite frankly be able to close them on these cross-sells and upsells a lot easier than you are at the beginning. Okay, and the reason for this is that you're going to be met with fewer objections. So when you introduce a new service or a premium service, whatever it might be, a lot of the questions that they are going to throw at you in order to basically qualify you and work around whether they trust you or not, they've already asked you. They're already at a point now where they've worked with you, they trust you, they enjoy working with you, hopefully, and that they're going to actually listen to you, wholeheartedly with their full attention because they are already invested in you and your business. Okay. Because of this, you're going to have more trust. So they know who you are, they know your face, your name. You've had multiple touch points with them, yourself, your team has. They know who you are. There's nothing to worry about, and you're delivering results. You also would have gotten to a stage, hopefully, where you've demonstrated proven results. So it's a lot easier to sell a client on a new product or service when you've said to them, look, if this is what we could have done, look what we did with you based on our core offer. You paid X and we generated X, huge amount for you. Think what it could be, just us adding in these slightly, complementary and new alternative offers on top of what we're already delivering for you. Okay, it's going to be an easy thing. It's hard for them to rebuttal that. It's hard for them to say, well, we don't trust you and you haven't generated results, because you have. Okay, the reason we do this retrospectively too is that it's a lot easier to close clients on cross-sells and upsells retrospectively on longer terms. Okay, so at the start, when you are trying to win the trust of a new prospective client, it's going to be very difficult for you unless you know what you're doing and unless you know how to meet these specific objections. It's going to be very, very hard for you to get them on a long term and a long contract. You obviously want that for cash flow certainty and financial stability within your business, but it's very difficult. And a lot of you guys I know come to me saying, what do you think about 30-day free trials and things like that? Bottom line is we absolutely don't advocate it, but we do have a solution that helps you meet those objections every single time you're asked them. Okay. Additional benefits here with introducing cross-sells and upsells retrospectively is that you won't have to onboard the client, okay? And because of that, you're going to actually lower your variable costs, all right? So every time you onboard a new client, however systemized and scaled your process actually is, there's going to be bumps in the road and there's going to be hiccups and bottlenecks, okay? There's going to be things that clients demand or they ask for, they want your time, things like that, which inevitably drive up your variable costs, okay? And variable costs are those, nifty little costs that within your agency are very hard to kind of keep a tabs on because they do increase and they do decrease depending on the unique characteristics of each of your clients. Okay, they are not a fixed cost. All right, and what we want to do within the agency in order to preserve our margins and quite frankly the profit that we're able to draw out of the business, we want to keep those variable and unexpected costs low. Okay, so doing this retrospectively will help you do all of these. All right, so now I'm going to talk about the types, okay, the specific types of cross-sells and the specific types of upsells that you can actually tangibly introduce to your clients, okay? So it's all well and good talking about the benefits, but if you don't actually know specifically what you can offer them, then you're not going to be able to implement this framework that we use within our business, okay? And like I say, we've utilized cross-sells and upsells over the last, it's almost 6 years now, February 2024, it'll be 6 years of doing this. We've introduced a variety, we've iterated on those and we've kind of scaled those down to the select few here that are basically going to be the easiest for you to deliver and scale, and the items and services that are going to give you the most amount of revenue and the maximum amount of profit too. Okay, so there's cheap upsells and cross sells. There are upsells and cross sells that are hard to deliver. These are those that are easy to scale and going to make you the most money, basically. Okay, so in the context of a email marketing agency, you might be thinking, well, what else can I offer? I've already done an audit. I've given them a proposal. We're doing campaigns. We're doing flows, things like that. So I'm going to talk you through some examples here. Okay, and the first example that you need to try and implement is anything that correlates to calendar events. Okay, so the first types of upsells that we thought of and delivered to our clients was in the lead up to Black Friday, Cyber Monday, November month in the e-com calendar year. It's the biggest sale event of the e-commerce calendar for every single brand around the world. And we were actually finding that we had pitched clients and closed them on 6 to 12 month agreements, 9 months ago, 7 months ago, 12 months ago, whatever it might be, where our Black Friday strategy and plan wasn't set in stone and it wasn't cemented at that point in time. And what we found naturally was that we were coming to the client on our bi-weekly calls and saying, look, we want to do this, we need to do this in order to build out your audience, in order to increase your placed order values, whatever it might be. This is what we suggest. We need to increase campaign frequency, we need newer designs, things like that. Well, these are all great suggestions, but they were suggestions that were going to drive up our variable costs and draw down from our profit, basically. Okay, so we didn't want to be in a position where we didn't want to optimize the client account because it would actually make us less money. So we went through the process of saying to clients, look, this is what we propose for the next 90 days. It's going to be double. So you're paying X, it's going to be 2X. And this is what you're going to get out from it. And to our surprise, it kind of birthed the genesis of this framework for us. It was a very easy yes. They said, yeah, no problem, sounds good. And we realized the power of cross-selling, upselling in that moment. Okay. So in terms of calendar events, this is one of the easiest ones. Look, We've got Black Friday, Cyber Monday coming up. Christmas is on the horizon. We need fresh designs. We need new ad copy, whatever it might be. It's Easter. Summer holidays in the UK is a big thing too, okay? All of these events, for the sake of email marketing, require fresh designs, okay? So Christmas, you don't want to be running the same email designs that you've been using in, July and August. You need to refresh them and make them attuned to the calendar and the time of the year that we are currently in, okay? Same with Black Friday. So these are very, very easy upsells. And in the context of email marketing, it's easy to upsell, increase designs and things like that because there's really a tangible outcome. You can say, look, for X, you're going to pay this, and here is your results, okay? Here are the physical emails that we've designed for you. Okay, the next one here, I've talked about it already a little bit, but increase frequency. So it might be that you want to say to them, look, in order to further optimize your account, we need to increase the frequency and cadence of the emails that we're sending, okay? Currently on our agreed scope of works and our strategy with you that we proposed you 7 months ago, we were sending 4 emails a month. Well, we've actually built, 3 segments of really highly engaged audiences here, pools of audiences here within your account. And actually we want to increase the frequency of emails. So we don't just want to send a generic email to everybody. We actually want to send a specific email to those 3 pools. So instead of 1 email, now there's 3, okay? And then what you need to do is multiply that across your campaign strategy. And then you can get to a point where you can say, look, we need to actually introduce 50 extra emails a month, whatever it might be, and put a cost to it, okay? Further to that, what you can do is upsell integration. So it might be that as part of your current scope of works and your proposal, that you are delivering a core of foundational and a handful of advanced flows. You might have 4 emails a month that you've, closed them on for their campaign strategy, whatever it might be. But you might be at the stage now where actually it would benefit them to integrate their email marketing with third-party tools. So it might be that you want to start bringing in Trustpilot reviews. It might be that you want to have all of their UGC, the user-generated content, synced and filtered through emails too, so that they can send that out to recipients on the email list. All right, and all of these implementations here are going to be they're going to be difficult for you to implement as an agency in the case of you're going to actually have to outlay more cash to get them done. Okay, so it might be that you're going to do them yourselves, which means you're going to actually consume more of your time. Obviously, your time has a value, a financial value attributed to it. Or it might be that you actually need to employ a new technical deliverability expert, whatever it might be, to integrate these third-party applications. Okay, same here with advanced flows. It might be that you've only pitched them on foundational flows. Maybe they're a new brand. They've only got one singular hero product. They've not got a huge number of SKUs, but when you first pitched them and closed them, it was actually only relevant to that brand to introduce foundational flows, okay, as opposed to advanced flows. And now 6 to 9 months on, it's actually, you've brought the brand to a stage where you can start to introduce those advanced flows, so you can upsell them, okay? The third type of cross-sell and upsell here is content. So we've talked about designs already. It might be that we are coming into Christmas, whatever it might be, and that you want to do a total overhaul and refresh of their email designs so that they are on brand for Christmas or Black Friday, whatever it might be. It's very easy to say that to the client, pitch them that, and kind of demonstrate what the deliverable outcome is for that upsell. And the final point here is it regards cross-sells really and complementary services. So it might be that within your agency, you're a retention agency and you offer email and SMS services, whatever it might be. Oftentimes what you'll find is clients will say to you, do you have a graphic designer? Can you run ads in-house? What about video content, short form content, whatever it might be? And at the start of your agency genesis, the answer is typically going to be no, because you can't. You won't be able to scale. You might not have the technical skills in order to deploy those additional services, and you might not have the staff, in hand who can also take on that work for you. So very simply, what you can do is, if you are in that position, you can refer the client to third parties. Maybe it's a friend that you've got who's a freelancer, or they run an ads agency, whatever it might be. And in return for each one of those referrals, you're going to get paid a fee that you pre-agree with that, agreed third party, or an affiliate commission if you're referring them to a specific tool, whatever it might be. They might ask about project management. You might want to refer them, click up, send them an affiliate link. Okay. It's a way that you can increase your monthly recurring revenue from that client without actually adding on more operational load onto you and your team. Okay, and then separate to that, later on in your agency genesis, when you have consistent monthly recurring revenue, when you've got a team under your belt, you might actually start introducing these own additional cross-sell services internally within the team that you've already got. Okay, so it might be that your copywriter is also really good at, I don't know, media buying, whatever it might be, and that in some cases it might be appropriate to pitch clients, look, we can do Facebook ads or TikTok ads, whatever it might be, and you've already got somebody in-house who can take on that additional work for you. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is run you through the RUC methodology and the specific timeline that you need to go through. Okay, because there is a timeline, it's sequential, and there is a process that you'll need to follow in order to make this this cross-selling and upselling formula successful for your agency and your existing clients. Okay, so what we start off with, with any new client is pitching the core offer. Okay, and you want to make sure that your offer is substantiated, that it's actually valuable. We've got a tool, if you go to ratemyoffer.co and you submit your offer as it stands and as it's written on your landing page or on your socials, whatever it might be, it takes 30 seconds and we'll actually give you an instant rating out of 24 based on 24 data points. That's going to give you an idea of how strong your offer is compared to others in the marketplace. Okay, so go to ratemyoffer.co to do that. But once you've made sure that you've pitched your core offer and you've actually closed them on them, then naturally you move into onboarding and delivery. Through delivery, hopefully you're going to be demonstrating your true value. You're going to actually be generating results for that client. And in the process of doing that, you're going to build trust. Okay, so you're going to get to the point where you've gone from sort of ambiguity, you've come out of nowhere. The client then learns who you are. They see what you do firsthand. They understand the process. They are grateful for the results that you've generated. And because of that whole process, they then trust you. Okay, what you want to do from there, and probably before this is at the start, we kind of do this internally, is build an internal plan that maps out that client's journey. Okay, so you might know that within your agency that typically you work with brands or clients on a minimum of a 12-month or an average of a 12-month basis. Okay, so the type of client that you are outreaching and closing who's within the niche that your agency operates, it might be that typically you'll work with them for about 12 months. Okay, you'll have clients that you work with for less. You'll work with clients on a longer basis than that, but it might be for a whole wealth of reasons that after 12 months they bring the work in-house. They've grown to a point where they can employ 3 people to do the job that your agency was doing, whatever it might be. Okay, but putting all of that aside, you need to make sure that you've got an internal plan that specifically sets in stone the time that you're going to try and upsell and cross-sell them. Okay, so it might be that you've onboarded them, I don't know, in March, April, and that you map out a few months of campaigns and strategy across then. But you know that leading up to Black Friday, the end of Black Friday being the end of November, or the start of Black Friday being the end of November, you know that you might need a month or so to introduce these cross-sells and upsells and this new strategy in order to get it ready for a November kickoff. Okay, so that's what I mean in terms of having an internal plan established. Do not notify the client of this yet. Okay, we do that later. All right, now through the process of delivering your service and working with the client, and through your bi-weekly calls and your update calls, you're going to be able to pick out and identify key trends that resonate and that are important to the client. So a lot of the email clients that we worked with, you might get one client who every time you're reporting back to them, every couple of weeks, they talk about designs and they say, oh, we love your designs. We love what you did here. We don't like that. We like this. Here are some design examples we like. It becomes very apparent with that client that they see a lot of value as being pinpointed on designs. Okay, so it might be that in identifying this trend, you already know the date that you're going to try and upsell. With identifying that trend, you can then package that into a cross-sell and an upsell package that is incredibly specific and bespoke to what the client is actually asking for and what they deem valuable. Okay, and when it comes to the time to pitch it and close them on that upsell, you're not going to have any objections. You're going to have very, very few objections when you're actually pitching them a service that they've been asking you for on a recurring basis over the last few months. So once we've done that, and once we start to formulate a bit of a plan behind our upsell pitch, what we need to do is what we call a whisper introduction. So when you're next on your account management call, when you're next on a strategy call, whatever it might be, an update call, slowly start to introduce the process. Okay, so you might be in June, July, August, whatever it might be, and you might want to just start to say to them, look, guys, November is fast approaching. Then we're on to Christmas. What's your plan? Have you got a new strategy that you're going to run with going into those key months? Trying to introduce the conversation in order to set up your cross-sell and upsell pitch that we're going to go on to in a moment that you'll hit them with at a later date. Okay. So once you've done that, what you're going to be able to do is get a micro commitment from them. They're going to be able to say yay or nay, basically. If you said to them, look, if we were able to, I don't know, introduce some more designs or whatever it might be, and it increased your revenue 2 to 3x or your audience size over Black Friday. We added an extra 1,000 or 3,000 new recipients within your email service provider database. Would that be of value to you? Would it be valuable if we just put a bit of a plan or strategy together and then sent that over to you? Okay. Inevitably, what they're going to say, because they trust you and they're going to be able to see the value in it, they're going to say yes. Okay. So you've already got their micro commitment, which is going to make it a lot easier to go into the pitch. Okay. So once you've got their micro commitment, you want to get a date and a time set in stone. Say to them, look, great. Is there, a time coming up that works for us to, share this with you? How does Tuesday or Thursday, 4 p.m. next week sound? And what you want to do is make it very clear in your calendar and your diary that this is a strategy session and it is not a normal, Q&A or account update strategy, Q&A or an account update call that you'll be having with them on a routine basis. You want to establish some sort of differentiation. Put it in your calendar as Black Friday strategy meeting. Whatever you're pitching to them, label the meeting as that and diarize an hour for each of you to go through it. Okay. And then what you're going to do on that call is close them. Okay. So you're going to meet any objections they might have. Largely, a lot of the objections they would have if you were to introduce this, pre-closing the client or at the start of closing the client and onboarding them. A lot of those are going to be matched already. They trust you. They can see the value in what you do. You deliver. You do what you say. They've already actually asked you for additional services. They've suggested to you specifically what they want going forward for the next few months, and you're simply giving them a solution to cover all the bases. So that really is a very simple way that you can help increase your agency's monthly recurring revenue. In turn, what you're going to be able to do is increase your lifetime value per customer, and quite frankly, make more money and draw down more profit from your business. So if you've got any questions about this, let me know in the comments below. Like I say, if you go to ratemyoffer.co, we'll actually give you an instant rating of your offer. And we've got hundreds of people who've already submitted. We only launched it last week. So it's been super interesting going through those. And like I say, drop me a comment below if you've got any questions. All right, guys, see you in the next one. Cheers.